I'd like to welcome everybody out to the June 6, 2022 meeting. Got a good crowd on hand tonight. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. It's good to see a lot of citizen participation. First up will be the call of order and pledge, which we've said to pledge. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to any item on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Phillips?
No, sir.
Mr. Nern?
No.
Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Hargraves?
No.
All right, and Mr. Boyman is not here. All right, moving on. Amendment and approval of a draft agenda. Does any member of council have anything that needs to be changed?
No, sir.
No.
Everybody's good? Do I have a motion to approve the draft agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on next will be our public hearings. Public hearing, fiscal year 22-23, Town of Sunset Beach proposed budget. Do I have a motion that we go into public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion before we go in? All right, the floor is none open. Does anyone have anything that they would like to state or say in regards to the proposed budget? If so, please state your name. I'll go ahead and go through this before we get all this other to cut some time. If you come up to the mic tonight, please state your name and your address. And when you start talking, you'll have about 3 minutes. My clock, I'll set it to go off at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds so I can give you a courtesy just to let you tie up where everybody can have their equal say. Does anyone have anything in regards to the proposed budget?
Any comments?
Sir, do you have something for proposed budget?
Yes.
Okay, take the stand, please, sir. But you ain't in court, but you take the stand anyway.
Excuse my deafness. Rich Serrato, 517 Twisted Oak Lane, Sunset Beach. I wish to commend Councilman Phillips for sharing his private warnings, budget warnings, at the previous meeting. Sadly, he was met with silence. After reviewing the $8.5 million budget, I understand why. These are the public records the council created, so please don't be mad at me. Although the tax rate is still 16 cents, I am still waiting for a response from the town to learn if the fire fee has increased. The fire fee is a tax, and it is deductible. Hopefully the council can answer this question this evening before the taxpayers. The base salaries, overtime, since it is not a separate item, overtime is not a separate item, does not include the associated related benefit costs and increases that I will provide you. These are your public records. From fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 23, our base salaries have increased 58%. From fiscal year 20 to 23, they've increased 35%. This past year, they've increased 14%. The operating expenses for our police department went from $1.3 million to $2.2 million, a 69% increase. From fiscal year 18 to 23, our fire department increased from $1.6 million to $2.6 million, or 63%. And this is during a time when the CPI was 2%, and our activity reports have remained flat. Now our town has 54 full-time employees, 20 permanent part-time employees, excluding the 22 part-time Beach Cabana patrol staff. The fire department consists of 21 full-time firefighters, 9 part-time fighters, and 4 volunteers. The police now has 17 full-time employees, 9 part-time employees, and 4 volunteers. Mr. Mayor, give me 30 seconds.
30 seconds, sir. Yes, sir.
The town has always had a good responsive staff, but at far less cost. And now you're on another spending spree when the taxpayers have requested Citizen Beach parking. Don't mean to cherry pick, but we just had an incident not long ago, and it took 20 minutes to respond. Raising head counts doesn't mean better services. The town has no schools, no hospitals, no nursing homes, and one active shopping center.
Please tie it up, sir, because we got a
Don't
lot
blame
on
the staff.
Not trying to be disrespectful, but
I'll
please tie it.
I'll
Just tie it up.
continue during my next section.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But has the fire fee increased?
Has the fire fee increased? No, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else in regards to the Sunset Beach proposed budget? Anyone else in the back? Would you check, please?
Any other speakers on the budget? No. None.
All right. We have nothing any further. Does any member of council have anything? If not, do I have a motion to accept the proposed budget? Close the budget public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion at all? All in favor?
All right.
All right. Moving on next to public hearing, minimum housing standards, abandoned vehicles, nuances. Do we have a motion to open up this?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion by the council before we open it up to the floor? Nothing? All right, do we have any member of public here in regards to the minimum housing standards? If you do, please come up and speak. Would you check back again, sir?
Go ahead.
Anyone want to speak on the housing standards?
Nope. All right, if there's nothing further to council, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion at all? All right, let's move on. Next up is a presentation by a company, Mr. Jim Varner, paid parking proposal presentation. Mr. Varner, if you're here, you're welcome to come up, sir.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a statement first?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Proceeding that. Excuse me, Mr. Varner, just to get started. The town staff and town council greatly appreciate the tremendous response and input that we've received regarding parking on Sunset Beach Island. We anticipated that this would be a high-interest, high-impact issue in the community, and we have not been disappointed. Your response has identified a wide range of issues and concerns, some of which have been identified, but also some that did not immediately come to mind. It is clear that we are not yet ready to address the many issues at this time, and we will not be ready until a significant amount of additional research, study, and identification of options takes place, including legal, regulatory, and policy. As such, decisions on island parking have not been placed on the agenda for this evening and will not be on the agenda until more thorough preparations have been made. At the end of tonight's meeting, I will propose that we begin a discussion next month on how to go about addressing the many issues associated with parking on the island. To be clear, no decisions will be made tonight on paid parking on the island. Realistically, any paid parking plan, should council choose to go in that direction, will not be ready for consideration until before the 2023 beach season. To put everybody on the same page as to the paid parking option that has been proposed, not approved, proposed, we have asked Jim Varner, CEO of Auto Connect, to brief everyone on the content of his paid parking proposal. After Mr. Varner speaks, we will move on with our meeting. Mr. Varner, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, council members, Stanley, public. It's a pleasure to be here and to be invited to speak to the parking opportunity or whatever you desire for Sunset Beach. Go to the next page. As noted here, I was invited to the town, I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and have been working with the town staff to identify where there are parking opportunities, where there are not parking opportunities, and if a decision is to be made for parking, for paid parking, what it would be the requirements to come before the council for decision to implement a paid parking program for Sunset Beach. This is our set of recommendations. My company is local, Southeast North Carolina. I am based in Surf City on Topsail Island. We work from Topsail Island down to Holden Beach, and continue to grow and be invited to several towns in the area to discuss the opportunity and how best to implement paid parking in a low-cost, low-touch environment. So I'm going to go through a couple of things. First, just to give you an overview of what we do and what we provide, and then go through the options and decisions that would be required by the council, by the town, if you decide to go forward with a paid parking plan, whenever that may be. Go to the next page. So our system is an app-based solution. When I say app, a mobile app on your phone. And we know that it is not 100% prevalent throughout the communities for everybody to have a smartphone to use our app. So we have the capability and built into our system the ability to use that mobile app, to use a website, or for people that just don't use a smartphone or website at all, to give us a call, and we can facilitate any of the parking capability that they need. Our system is license plate based. We don't do kiosks. We don't do meters. They break down in our coastal environment. We don't do stickers. We don't do hang tags. They move from car to car. We are strictly a per vehicle permit system. We have parking rates that are set by you. You tell us how much you want to charge for parking. You tell us how much you want visitors to pay. Owners, residents can be free or they can pay a fee. Totally up to the town and the council. We provide an a la carte system for parking management. And when I mean a la carte, you tell me what you need. Do you just need parking fees? Do you need enforcement? Do you need enforcement for just the parking lots, the parking areas, or do you need us to patrol the entire area, whether it's just the island, town? You tell us what you would like. We help supplement the law enforcement team, specifically related to parking. We want to take that burden off of the law enforcement officers to the extent that we can, so that they can focus on other more important activities. Parking should not be, in my mind, the number one priority of the police department. And that's where we help. We do that holistically. We have people out and about. Number one, first priority is to help people with their parking permits, help them know where they're parking, know where they're allowed to park, and help them know where not to park. Second, we do issue citations, and then we manage the citations through the life cycle. So when somebody calls us up and says, hey, I want a parking permit, great, we'll do that. Next person, hey, I got a ticket, I need to pay my parking permit. Okay, we can take care of that right on the phone or right on the mobile app or right on our website. This is a subscription service. We are a software as a service company that provides parking management solutions. When you subscribe to our capability, there's no upfront cost for you to set up our system. The only upfront cost to the town is identifying the parking areas and the signs that are appropriate for pay to park here. That is the setup cost for the town. We handle everything else. Any questions on that from the council at this point? Okay, so what happens then as I go through this process with various towns is a series of actions that are required to happen by the council, by the town, with public input, however you see fit. The very first question is always, why are you doing or considering paid parking? Some towns it's because they need to raise money. Sometimes it's, I just want to manage parking. We have an overflow of people trying to park in our town, and we need to manage it. We help in both of those areas. Some towns want both. Usually it doesn't happen that way. It's either money or management. The resounding feedback I've gotten from Sunset Beach is you need to manage parking. With the other towns north of here, east of here, implementing paid parking, more and more people are coming here. In southeast North Carolina, we're getting a large influx of people in general. The population is growing and they want to come to the beach. That needs to be managed, and that's where we help. Our company focuses on that parking environment for coastal towns in North Carolina. So, first question is up to you. Do you want to implement paid parking? If you do, we're here to help. If you don't want us, that's fine too. But we would be more than happy to help. Second question is, well, when do you need it? When do you need paid parking? We live in a seasonal environment. We don't have a lot of visitors during November, December, January, February. March starts getting busy. April gets busy. May is always our biggest month of the year. Always. People are so anxious to get out, get on the beach, and enjoy themselves. Memorial Day is always the winner. Always a record day for us. So we typically do March through the end of October. We support enforcement from 9 to 5 during the time when visitors come. We often recommend that before 9 o'clock be free. People that just want to go down and walk their dog on the beach, want to do this, want to, watch the sunrise. Same thing in the afternoon with sunset. Next page, please. Parking rates becomes the next question. Competitive environment says that you could charge just about anything you want in Southeast North Carolina, from $2 an hour up to $8 an hour. Most towns are going around $5. And that's typically where we say the sweet spot is for managing the influx of people. It isn't that you want to keep people away, but you want to manage that. Some towns go to $25 a day. I've seen a couple go up to 30 now. I don't see a need for that. I would recommend something down in the $20 a day range because that's now affordable for a family to go spend a day at the beach. The per season rate, again, is up to you. We have towns running from $125 per vehicle for the entire season being March to October. And we have some towns charging $250. Again, up to you. I pick a competitive rate of around $200 per vehicle for visitors to buy an annual permit. One of the real values of an annual permit with our system is once you buy it and you register a car, if you always use that car, you don't have to do anything else. Park in any valid parking spot. You don't have to log in. You don't have to register. We come by, we scan your tag, say, yep, you got an annual permit, you're good to go. Residents and owners, same kind of situation. And again, up to the town, how you want to manage residents and owners. We have some towns that say they're free, and some towns that say they pay the same rate as visitors. That is a local decision, not mine. We know that there is some cost to us to manage those, and we pass that along to the town. We try to keep that down to the minimum. Next chart. As we go through Sunset Beach, there are two distinct areas where people park. And each one has its value. What I have here is phase one is the zone type, on street and off street, are those areas that are very close to the beach. These are the popular areas that people want to park in because it's easy to walk across the boardwalk to get on the beach. The gazebo lot, Sunset Boulevard, which is streetscape, and parking down along Main Street. I would recommend those areas as being the $5 an hour kind of rates. You have an expanded capability on the island with the other streets, Canal, Fish Streets, etc., North Shore. Those are a little bit more removed from the beach and can be charged at a lower rate. Again, up to you, but that is a recommendation that I would make. If I look at those two areas, and I don't have the exact numbers at the top of my head, phase one had about 350 potential parking spaces. Same with phase two. Altogether, we're looking at a little over 700 potential parking spaces for the town. Next chart. You do need to go through and update your ordinances. The very first one I always recommend is you need an ordinance that says no parking except in designated areas. That takes the ambiguity out of where there's parking allowed and where there isn't. If it's not a designated space and you park there, you're going to get a parking ticket. Second is making sure that your paid parking permit areas are set up for your designated areas, the dates and times included in the ordinances, and same kind of information put on the parking signs that are placed out in the public. And then the last one is the fines need to be updated. We generally see in North Carolina, almost every town is now using the $50 fine for parking violation. We also offer a same-day violation rate of half that. So if you get a ticket this morning and you pay the violation today, it's $25. If you wait till tomorrow, it's $50. Well, it's an incentive to get it off the books and resolved, and you don't have delinquent citations hanging around. Yes, sir.
How do you handle weekends?
I'm sorry?
Weekends. You get a ticket on Saturday and Sunday's not a work day.
You got to pay for it that day. We have people working every day. The app is running every day. The website is running every day. People can pay their violation right on their phone, or they can give us a call.
Thank you.
Next chart. So some of the values that we provide, we focus on having a very simple solution. We have a personal connection to the area. A lot of us live around here. We focus on providing positive support and real people support. Call us on the phone, you get a real person. Okay, sometimes that person is busy and you get a call back from a real person. Knowing the area, the enforcement, townwide coverage capability, and then you get into some of the other intangibles. My team and myself, we're a bunch of IBMers. We range anywhere from 25 to, okay, I'm over 60. And we know how to do development of software solutions that are resilient, scalable, and can support the environment that we live in. We developed our system. We didn't vend it out. We didn't buy it from somebody else. We developed it. Our team used to develop the enterprise level systems management capabilities for racks and racks and racks of servers for IBM. So we know how to do that very well. We only use 2 outside vendors. One is AWS, Amazon Web Services, for our cloud, and a Braintree, which is a PayPal company, for our secure payment transactions. I think everything else we've talked about. Next chart, please. Financial relationship. We provide a very simple, all-inclusive fee structure that's based on what you select for your level of service. And it can range. Typically, we charge 30% of all the fees that we collect. That allows us to provide a high level of support through the season, but it also allows us to have enough to get through the off season with our regular team so that we can continue to upgrade and improve our services. There's no financial commitment, no upfront cost that you would owe us. So we have a storm and the weekend is shut down or the whole week is shut down, I don't get paid and you don't get paid. If we have a great season, then we both get paid. So it is incentive for me to provide a positive experience for people. Not everybody likes paid parking, I understand. But where you have to deal with it, then we want to make sure it's a positive experience. There's no equipment cost, no equipment to lease, no equipment to maintain. We take care of everything within our fee-based structure. We do provide a monthly auditable report. We do provide all of the on and off street accounting. That's important. Under North Carolina law, on-street parking revenue has to be used for parking. There are exceptions to that. Eventually, you can go back to the state legislature and get that. There's legislation that allows you to use those funds for your general funds as well. Next chart. Customer feedback. Yeah, we always have those few people that just don't want to pay for their parking, don't want to pay for their tickets, and they get angry. And we train our team to work with them and try to defuse the situation, both on the street, in the parking lots, and on the phone. But generally, the feedback that I get from people who talk to my team is very positive. We are responsive. We try to get things cleared up in a timely fashion. Rarely do we not get something closed within 24 hours of notice. Next chart. Auditability. You as the town have to go through an annual audit. If you engage with us, what we provide to you will go through an audit. We audit it ourselves, but every month we issue a report with types of permits, how many, dollars associated with it, how many citations have been paid, dollars associated with it. And we provide reams of information. Quick example, Holden Beach, month of May, over 8,000 users in 1 month, and we listed every one of those for review by the town. Next chart. And finally, we customize. If there are things that you would like us to do different, if there are things in our reports that you would like different, we can do that for you. As I said, we developed this system ourselves, and we developed it to meet your needs. So we can change things around as you see fit. Next chart. So this is just a quick summary of the things that council and the town will need to consider going forward. First, will you do paid parking? If you would do, when will you implement? What are the dates? What are the hours? What are the parking rates that you want to set up for your visitors and for your residents? What are the parking areas? Updating your ordinances. And hopefully you'll come around and say, yeah, Jim, we'd like to use AutoConnect. If you've gotten everything else, we would be more than happy to help you. And then set a start date, whenever it is. Next March, as you said earlier, not this year. We've got plenty of time to get everything set up for next year. It doesn't take us long. We generally have our part of the system up and running in a matter of weeks. But we can work with you for the rest of the year in planning for that. Any questions?
Any member of council have any questions from?
Jim, how do you handle golf carts? Do you handle them differently than automobiles, or the same?
Golf cart is a licensed vehicle on the road, is exactly the same as a car or a truck.
Any other member of council have any questions?
And you do your own hiring, for the local enforcement team that you have,
Yes.
your local team? It's, you hire them, you pay them?
Yes.
Not
All of
our-
that comes out of my fee-based structure.
Anyone else have any questions? Go
Jim,
ahead.
what are the other locations that are using your company besides we know Holden Beach?
We have Holden Beach, we have Topsail Beach, we have North Topsail Beach, and we have Beach Mountain with 2 E's.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
No more questions?
No.
You good with questions?
I'm sorry. No.
Y'all have? You good? You good? Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we get to the public comments, I'd like to say a few things.
Yeah.
Councilman Hargraves and I have been working on this since last November, not paid parking, but looking for solutions. These emails that you've been sending, we read them. I couldn't answer them all, but I answered quite a few. One thing we have said since we started is Sunset Beach taxpayers will not be charged for parking. I got a lot of several emails saying, where are you going to put 700 new parking places? Well, they misread what was on the town website. We've identified 700 and some parking places. There's no room to add any. So, whether we go with paid or however we do it, parking is still going to be first come, first served. So, that's all.
Mr. Phillips, you got anything?
No, sir.
Moving on now to our public comments on agenda items only. Again, anything that's on the agenda, if someone would like to speak on that, please state your name and your address, and you'll have the 3 minutes. And please, at the courtesy, let's try to tie it up so everyone will get a chance to speak, okay?
Well, my name is Susan Gentry, and I do not know my address. We bought a lot, and I don't know what the address of it is.
You live here in Sunset?
I don't live there. We just bought it. We're going to
Okay.
build a house,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
it's
Okay.
it's right up the road.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I wanted to mention a couple of things that I thought of when he was speaking. One is you said that taxpayers in Sunset Beach would not be charged, and that's wonderful.
That's what I said.
Right. And so that settles one of my issues. But I did wonder about if someone buys a pass and regularly, like me, drives multiple vehicles. If it's just me coming to the beach, I drive my car. If I'm bringing somebody with me, my husband or whatever, I usually drive another vehicle that we have. So that I'd hate to have 2 passes, but that's something to consider. Also, I'd like to point out that if you're going to consider charging, there needs to be some places, some property purchased on the island close to the water. The vacant lots that are there now, so I think one of them is for sale, need to be purchased and turned into parking spaces with a bathroom, with a foot wash. Those are those to me are key things to be as flexible as possible. And I also want to point out, based on the information that he just provided to you, that 8,000 people that they served or charged in Holden Beach in May, that is not normal. That is only because of the renourishment they did, because it brought in shells that are not normally on that beach. And people from all over the country have come to Holden Beach to go shelling multiple times. So that is not the norm for May. So that leads to the next thing. Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. I've been here quite a bit for the last few months, and I haven't had any trouble finding a parking place. We just don't have the crowds until Memorial Day. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tracy Rangeli, and I reside at 319 Bulkhead Bend in Carolina Shores, North Carolina. I just wanted to kind of give a little background. I'm talking this evening on behalf of Pure Markets and some of the issues we've had with local businesses in our market. I just wanted to comment that I'm a small business owner. I make jewelry. I have been doing the markets for 4 years now. My husband is a police officer here in Sunset Beach. We have a tremendous sense of community here. Some of the things that have been transpiring have been disheartening for us as well. And I just want to encourage us to maybe have a meeting before we jump to conclusions on some solutions that I've been hearing. You know, taking down some town signs and, you know, businesses having to shut their doors while we're having our markets. It doesn't seem fair to anybody. So we just want to feel heard. You know, as us as business owners, we work very hard. Just because we're not a brick and mortar doesn't mean we don't pay our taxes. You know, we're out there every day in the weather, the influx of people coming in and out, and it's important for us to earn a living. And I just ask and encourage you all, before you make decisions on limiting the number of times that we have markets. And as I understand, brick and mortars are having struggles, and we're having parking issues. You know, us businesses are still trying to earn a living. And if we close one market, some of us don't pay our rent. So I just like to encourage, before we make decisions, maybe having a meeting where we can all maybe find some solution. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make mine brief as well. This is my wife. Matthew Rangel is my name. Also reside at 319 Bulkhead Bend, Carolina Shores, North Carolina. So Sunset Beach has allowed my wife and I to follow our dream of becoming full-time business owners, where we're able to sell our product here at the park through Pure Markets, as my wife mentioned moments ago. To add to these dreams, I am proud to say that I am a police officer here in Sunset Beach, actually sworn in this very room. So it's a blessing. Which awards me the opportunity to give you some feedback as far as the community and how grateful we are, how you all have treated us with open arms ever since we got here some 4 years ago. So all we ask now is that you continue to do what's right for the community, including the small businesses, and stand up for, you know, everything that's been done previously that thus far the town has been totally okay with. So with that, I thank you, Mayor, and all the town council here. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Kimberly Cummins. I'm at 1120 Captain's Court, Carolina Shores. I'm also here to speak on behalf of Pure Markets. I'm a small business owner. I've been doing the farmer market for quite some time now, and I have a following. I have people that email me and ask me, am I going to be there this Thursday, because they cannot wait to start their vacation and they want to stop and see me first. So when I heard of the problems at the market, I mean, I was destroyed. This is my livelihood, along with so many other people. I mean, this is what we do. It's a wholesome, hardworking environment. People look forward to coming here to Sunset Beach and doing this. This is their thing. This is my thing. This is so many other people that it's affecting. I understand that the businesses are having some problems. I mean, nobody wants problems. I know you guys probably have a lot on your plate, because you've got this person complaining or this person complaining. We're just trying to make a living. We make sure we leave that park just the way we found it. We want everything to be just the way it needs to be. There has to be some kind of solution. There can be some kind of compromise. Let us know what that is. Nobody's come to us. I mean, those businesses, we're starving after we set up in the morning. They could come around and we would gladly pay them if they brought us a sandwich. I'm starving. I mean, obviously you can see I'm melting away to nothing. But I have to tell you, we work our butts off. We got sweat pouring down off of us. We're thirsty. We're hungry. We're trying, what is the solution? Why can't we all just get together, do a little brainstorming, figure it out? Let's just figure it out. It's a wholesome environment. People want it there. I want it there. There's so many people there. There's over 70 vendors. If there's a parking situation, well, obviously there's a guy here that's got a solution for that. He just talked about it for a half an hour. There's so many different, I don't understand why there's problems. Okay.
I'm just being
I
courteous.
get it. I'm a little frustrated. My feelings are
I'm
a
not
little hurt.
frustrating. I'm just giving you common courtesy
Yeah.
so everybody else can speak.
Yes, I get it, sir. So having said that, please consider us because I think we bring something. I think we bring some wholesome, good stuff to Sunset Beach, and I really want you to consider us before you make any decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Mayor Phillips, Councilman, Town Administrator, staff, thank you for hearing us. My name is Barbara Sfraga. I am a tax-paying resident of Sunset Beach, 611 Triangle Court Southwest. Make my living as an artist, like these folks, and sell my art at markets and festivals. I've been fortunate to be among the wonderful artists that participate in Chris and Jim Wilson's Pure Markets events at both Sunset Beach and Ocean Isle Beach. Out of about 150 art events I do a year, Chris and Jim Wilson's are my favorite for several reasons. They have a reputation of being communicative and clear with us vendors, and we appreciate and respect that because we always know what the deal is, where we stand, what the requirements are, and how to make it work for the good of the all. Because of their absolutely clear, concise, no-nonsense management approach, they've engaged us all as part of that team to ensure the market's overall success. We all have great respect for them. They walk a delicate balance between the town, the vendors, the customers, the visitors, and they do so with great professionalism. To give you an inside perspective of how this all works on our end, all vendors get regular emails reminding us about town rules pertaining to the park and where approved designated vendor parking areas are, as well as times to load in and load out. We're a good team. We assist one another to ensure that the market's rules are adhered to. As with any business, if the rules are stated clearly, they could be adhered to. If they keep moving around, they cannot. And Chris and Jim keep us abreast of all updates to the town's parameters. If there are issues with surrounding businesses, the most equitable and logical thing to do is what Tracy said and what Kimberly said, to open up the discussion and sit down and talk about it, because we like solutions. It's a better world when we find solutions together. The weekly Thursday Pure Market at Sunset Beach Town Park bring great value to residents, business visitors, and as artists and growers who participate. I trust the representatives of our beautiful town will take into account all people weighing in. So we've all been through a lot these past few years. And as a community, a good many of us have done whatever we could to help each other get through. I'm a firm believer in working together for the good of all. And I'm trusting that we will continue to do that together as a community and keep the Pure Market at Sunset Beach Town Park going. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Next.
Hi, Jane Ruszkowski, 7039 Bonaventure Street in Ocean Isle. And the reason why I'm in Ocean Isle is when Sunset Ridge was built, we were told that we were going to be part of Sunset Beach. What really disturbs me is we pay our taxes to the fire department, but not our regular real estate taxes, I guess, to Ocean Isle Beach. It's very disheartening to know 400 families will not be able to access the beach. And I come from a beach community in New York, and I can't imagine paying $5 an hour to go to the beach. I mean, I can see $5 a day, but not $5 an hour. So you're saying that whole community, Sunset Beach, will not be allowed to go to your beach because most of Sunset Beach is all retired people. And at $5, $25 a day, that would be quite a bit of your Social Security being chopped away for that. So I really consider, if you're going to charge something, think about the community that's coming down here. It's not really young people that are coming down here. It's the majority of older people. I know Yankees are coming to here, but really, you should really consider that because that's why we moved here. I mean, I don't want to live here if I can't go to the beach. I would certainly move out and go to another area, whether it's South Carolina or whatever. But I really like the community. The people have embraced us. We really have gotten a warm feeling here. And it would really be appreciated if you at least consider $5 an hour is ridiculous. $5 a day, yeah, I could see that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
My name is Sam Chinnis. I'm a property owner at 426 Marlin Street.
What was the last name, please?
Chinnis, Chinnis.
Thank you.
We kind of found out about this by chance. We would have really appreciated an active notice to the property owners that were going to be impacted by this proposal. And I don't think that happened. Like when there's a sewer or there's any other kind of notification that we have to pay for something, we get a letter. But for something that's going to have this much of an impact on our property, we got nothing. And that was disappointing. The other disappointment about this proposal is the disparity between the impact of canal homes versus the rest of the island. Bringing in that much concentration into the canal homes. I know everyone wants to access the beach, but the beach is limited. It's crowded. It was crowded today, and it's a Monday, not in prime season. So my concern is that crowding is just proposal is just going to encourage more and more overcrowding.
Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you.
I said thank you, sir. Next up.
Yes, I'm Robert Wilson, also homeowner 426 Marlin Street. And I had a couple issues with the plan, and one was I understand it is kind of a city right-of-way, and you can do with it what you want, but for decades, homeowners have really been maintaining that right-of-way. City has really done nothing other than the central roadway that they've maintained. And so I wonder, what's going to happen now? Is city going to take over the landscaping of that area? Are they going to do more for trash cleanup in that area? Because with traffic, there's probably going to be all those issues to deal with. The other concern I have is kind of the disparity between having this on the canal roads and not the numbered roads on the island. And it's going to impact the ability to get in and out of your house, especially if you have boats that you might be trailering. Another impact that I see is an issue with safety issues on the canal streets, because those are very residential type areas. And I see with what you're going to do is inviting a lot more traffic, up to 30 plus cars a day on those roads. And I see there as being safety issues, both for your property and personal safety issues. On any given day, you go on those roads and you see people walking back and forth to the beach all the time. And with more traffic on those roads, that's just not a good thing to have. And lastly, I wonder about, when you look at this process, have you looked at what this does to kind of property value and what it does to your rental value on those homes? I mean, this is definitely not a positive impact. It's got to probably be some sort of negative impact in my mind, and that kind of bothers me a little bit that you would do this, and how it's going to negatively impact those homes that have been functioning quite well for decades. So that's really all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi there, Kathy Chinnis, also 426 Marlin Street. I probably have the most esoteric argument. My concern is that on August 20th of 2020, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and the National Marine Fisheries Services entered into an agreement with the Center for Biological Diversity and the Sea Turtle Oversight Protection and the Turtle Island Restoration Network, and filed an agreement in the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, where two things happened. Green sea turtles remained under the Endangered Species Act, and also these federal agencies agreed to determine proposed protections related to the turtle nesting beaches in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. It's particularly in low-lying nesting beaches, and the concern that I have is this all increase. You're talking, I think at some point I heard 771 parking spots with 4,000 homes on the beaches. It's not quite a 20% impact increase, and that could have a detrimental impact on the nesting areas. We already have fewer and fewer that we see cordoned off, and the ones that are there are being disturbed more and more frequently. So when you have more people traveling back and forth, people with less of a vested interest, you're going to have an adverse impact on this endangered species. And currently there is a federal agreement in place with these U.S. agencies that needs to be considered. They have until, I believe it is 2023, in which to, I think it's June of 2023, to determine these areas. And there's the possibility that Sunset Beach Island could be in that area. So thank you.
Ma'am, can I say something right quick? Because I think evidently there's some misconception, and I'm saying this respectfully because I'm not singling you out. I was going to say something a while ago, but you say creating 700 new parking places. The guy that come in, I mean, there's no more parking places. I've always been one that said what we got is what we got.
Okay.
I mean, we're not creating any more parking spaces. What's out there is already out there. It isn't like we're going to come in and add 700. I just want to get that clear. I mean, we're not. There's no way we can add any.
Well, I think that may be tying into my brother's comment, which was the whole landscaping, that you are going to have to actually create some spots in this residential area.
But I just want to make it clear. I mean,
Okay.
that's my biggest thing on parking. We're
Okay.
not creating any more parking places. It's not like we're going to magically be able to make any more, regardless of what they do or who comes in or
Okay.
whatever. We can't create no more parking
Well, if
places
you
like
drive
that.
up and down the canal streets, I think that you may actually see that you do have to, in fact, create
Yeah.
spaces.
But it's
Given
there.
that- given that
It's
the
there.
town
And
has
like
not.
I said, I'm saying this
Yeah.
respectfully. I just didn't want for it to come out to the audience that's coming out that we're creating 700 more, because there's not. There's
Sure.
not 700 more.
No,
Whatever's out there is what we have right now. That's the count that they said. What is active on the town's list or whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep,
I
thank
just wanted
you.
to make sure, like I said, everybody knew what the thing was. Is anyone next? You can be next.
Mary Jo Kennedy, 613 Millslough Lane.
What was that, please?
613 Millslough.
Millslough. Thank you.
Since we're not creating more spaces, we're just dealing with what's there. If there's 700 spaces, that means 700 signs. I went over to Holden Beach today. And Holden Beach, every parking space has a sign, has a 4x4 post and a QR code for you to scan. 700 signs would be horrible on that beach. 700 posts on that beach would be horrible. Parking, I go to the beach just about every day. I have yet to find a problem with parking. I don't get my first choice every time, but I always find a parking space. Today, as crowded as it was on the beach, I passed parking spaces looking for my favorite space. There really is not. We need to organize what's there, but I don't think we need to charge for parking, and we definitely don't need 700 signs on that beach.
My name is Mark Gruber, 420 Sailfish Street. All right, just a couple comments that I wanted to make as far as charging. I'm a firm believer if you charge somebody for something, you owe them a service. So if you are going to charge for parking, I think you owe it to people to have facilities available to them. That's first and foremost. Second thing is, I live on Sailfish Street. No, you're not adding any more parking spaces. But I went out there and just did a little measuring today. And the things I was measuring, first I went up to Main Street and just measured how wide the road was. Then I measured the bike lanes, and then I measured the walk. And if you go on Main Street and add all those measurements up, you got 10 feet of bike lane. The roadway's 18 feet wide. The parking width's about 9 feet per each side, so that's another 18 feet. Then you got a 5-foot sidewalk. So you got a total of 51 feet across. That's on Main Street. Supposedly, I guess on the fish streets, you've got 45 feet of right of way. I went out there and did a little measuring, and right out front of my house, there's they call it a sewer vac. It's a manhole. Directly across the street from me is a manhole, and it is 39 feet from the edge of one to the edge of the other. And if you don't want somebody parking within a foot of that, so you got about 37 feet there. And if you start looking at other utilities around there, sewer pipes that are sticking out of the ground, you don't have 45 feet in a lot of those places. So if you're going to advocate paid parking, I think that's going to identify. I don't even think people think they can park on their streets now. It's probably why they don't park there. But if you're going to put a sign out there and say, hey, here's parking spots, I think that, first of all, the homeowners are going to have to do a lot of modification on their landscaping. And the second part is the town's going to have to do a lot of modifications on their services they provide, because you don't have 45-foot setbacks that are clear. That's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Pat Alderson. I live at 421 Sailfish Street. I'm part of the contingent. So I sent you all my talking points. I don't think I need to repeat them again. The only piece I think I'm really concerned about is, for 20 years, I've maintained the abandoned right-of-way of the town. And now if we want to call it a parking space and come in and take away the landscaping I've put in there, I'd like to know if the town's going to help remediate that issue for me.
You asking me?
Sure I am.
How often
You said
do we
there's
look at
parking
it?
spots there.
I'm just telling you what, I just wanted to make sure that they understood it's not creating. I mean, that's like I said before.
So
Anybody that knows me at all knows what I said. What we got's what we got. I mean, I'm not
You're taking out
proponent of it.
lot of landscaping. You're creating things.
I ain't taking nothing.
Well,
I don't even have a boat, sir.
well,
All I'm doing is trying to run a meeting and trying to get decisions, try to bring people together.
You have the time.
where we can
You have
make
the time.
decisions.
The other question I want to know is if we decide to enact, I guess, the right-of-way ordinance, is that going to apply to all of the town? Or is it just selective streets?
So public comments are not a
Okay.
two-way talking point. It's just a way for you to voice your opinions.
Thank you. Well, that's
in order to keep the mood, the
Yep, got
meeting
it.
going.
Got it.
Thank you, sir.
I apologize for that.
No, you good.
Okay.
Nice
You good.
Just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Who's next?
My name is John Hopgood, and my wife Tracy and I own Sunset Beach Trading Company on Sunset Boulevard. Obviously, I sent a 3-page email to you guys and to the staff at Sunset Beach. So you have my talking points as well. I just want to say that the commercial district, known as a streetscape, at $5 an hour, I just hope that I spoke with Mr. Jim from the Auto Connect, and he said the technology is there to have 30-minute free parking for shopping, quick shopping in and out. So knowing that now, in terms of the commercial district, it would be nice if the town council met with commercial district business owners and some residents who also live in the commercial district to discuss how this might affect our livelihoods. In regards to parking across the island, I have friends who are for parking who live on the island. I have friends on the island who are against parking on the island, paid parking. I just hope that the town is ready to enforce the driveway ordinance island-wide, including those streets that don't have parking on them, because that's, as one friend said to me this morning, that's only fair if you're going to not discover parking, but allow parking in those places that are possible to park on the east side. Then the west side, who doesn't have parking on their roads, also ought to have 20-foot wide driveways instead of an entire gravel driveway. So I look forward to working with the council for whatever solution. My preference would be no paid parking, of course, but I would like to work with y'all if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Who would like to be next?
My name is Steve Rutledge, and I actually live in Calabash, and been here for quite a while, as you can tell probably by my accent. I'm glad that the Sunset
What was
Beach.
your address, sir?
Oh, it's 1678 Beach Drive Southwest, Calabash, South Carolina, 28460. North Carolina. Sorry. I'm a South Carolinian from the beginning, but we retired here. Anyway, one thing I like to say is, I'm glad that y'all are looking into this and trying to come up with a solution. And obviously, it's going to be difficult, and there's a lot of emotions and a lot of things involved. But one of the things I would ask is that, for Calabash, Carolina Shores, this general area, Sunset Beach is our beach. We consider it our beach. I've considered it my beach for years and years and years. So if you're going to go to the charge system, I would hope that you would include those areas as being residents, because I know you could talk to Chuck and some of the Calabash City Council maybe or something, and y'all can maybe work something out where you share some expenses or, but that's, to me, that's my beach. That's our beach. The other thing I like to say is that over the years, and I know this is going to make some of the homeowners out there mad, but, I deal with property a good bit, and, there are easements and there are setbacks and all these types of things. And I can tell you over 20, 25 years, there's been more and more encroachment by the homeowners of the setbacks and easements, putting mailboxes in places where mailboxes should not be. I can go, I got a picture of a mailbox that's this tall. I don't know I don't know if they're little people that live on the island or not, but that doesn't meet the federal standards for mailbox height. So it's obviously been put there to keep people from parking on the easement area that's not owned by the homeowners. The other thing I would say, ask, do any of you have a driveway that covers your entire lot?
Nope.
Kind of strange. I
No,
do.
it's the code. It's the code.
The code, yeah, the code says you can have how many feet?
20 feet.
20.
Yeah. So, so there are things like that going on, and I'm not trying to be ugly to the homeowners out there. I understand it's a lot of, it can be difficult for the people who live out there, I'm sure, in some ways, but you kind of have to strike a balance in all this, between the people who don't live there and the people who do live there. And like I said, in Calabash, I do consider that my beach. So I appreciate all y'all are doing. I know it's going to be tough.
And quick
Thank you.
question before he leaves. This gentleman came up to me. I apologize. I actually forgot.
No, that's right.
But he found some money in the parking lot, in the front parking lot.
Yep.
So if anybody would like to see him, if you did lose some money, he'll be glad to give it back to you. If you can tell him how much it was.
I lost 2 20s.
Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
Shannon knows you, so if you think about it,
Yeah, he lives over there somewhere in Calabash. Steve with the Carolina though. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hey, my name's Donna Schultz. I live at 241 Furrow Lane in Carolina Shores, and I also own property in 908 Resort Circle in Sunset Beach. It is a very difficult situation that people have very diverse views. You're either for it or against it. I am 100% against paid parking. I moved to this beach. I fell in love with it. I live here. I support it. I support you guys. I am on Turtle Patrol. Am I going to have to worry about if there's a nest? Do I have to worry about I'm going to have to go pay my parking? Do I have to put another, $5 on my account? I support this community. I also want to say that if you are not a resident of Sea Trail, live on the island, Kingfish Bay, or Ocean Ridge Plantation, because they have houses and parking, everybody else has to pay. You're going to make everybody pay to come to this beach? I think that's just crazy. The one lady made a very good point about having 700 posts. I've been to Holden Beach, and that's not pretty. They don't have as many as us. You're going to ruin Sunset Beach. It is one of the best beaches in the world, and you are going to ruin it. I've heard people on the island say that they want to, they don't like other people coming here, and they think that if you pay, you charge for parking, it's going to change the caliber of the people coming here. They complain that people from Ocean Isle come over here because we can have cabanas and they can't. That's a wrong mentality. The paid parking is not going to solve a parking issue. What is it going to do? Generate money for the town? That's the only thing it's going to do. And the last point is, and the gentleman before me had said about the people on the island put parking, put their mailboxes, and they put their landscaping to prevent other people from parking there. And the whole town has never said anything to them until now, till you want to put paid parking there. You all of a sudden are going to make them change that so you can charge for parking. That's not right either. Make them move their mailboxes and their landscaping and open up more parking for people. The other thing is I've come to this beach all the time. I have not had an issue with parking. And what I feel is if people come down here during the summertime for 4th of July, Memorial Day, they get 1 or 2 weeks out of the year to enjoy this beach. I live here year round. I can come anytime I want. So I'm more than happy to turn around and go home if I can't find a parking spot during this high season.
Thank you.
Totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next? Come on, sir.
My name is Lawrence Hershoff. I live at 219 Barony Place Drive in Seatrail. I guess I'm one of the people that is entitled to one of the 35 spaces that handles 1,684 different properties in Seatrail. Politicians get a bad rap because they constantly kick things down the road and wait for problems to be so incredibly screwed up that there's no way to deal with them. And I want to commend this council and our town administrator on facing up to a problem that we all know exists. Our paradise has been discovered. There's 10,000 or more units that are going to be developed along Georgetown Road. The people of Sunset Beach pay to try and support that beach. Okay? The residents who come in and the visitors that come in that live on the island and rent support the beach through the taxes that we get and the hotel tax that we get on the rentals. Okay, the people, with all due respect, from Calabash and Ocean Isle and Ash and every place else, come and use our beach, and we get nothing for it. So I think it's time for us to face up to the fact that regardless of how serious people think the problem is right now, it is going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. All these people moving into all these houses, many of whom are not Sunset Beach residents, are going to want to use our beach. And unfortunately, paid parking is one way to regulate, who has access and who doesn't. I don't want 700 people from New York, and by the way, I lived in New York, okay, coming and taking all the parking spaces so my wife and I cannot get to the beach. The simple fact of the matter is, yes, paid parking will make some people think about whether they want to come to our beach or not, and that's unfortunate, but it is a resource that we have an obligation to protect. And I thank you all for dealing with this problem before it becomes so serious that we have people parking on the lawns of people on Sailfish Drive and wherever else, because this is a problem that needs to be resolved now. And I don't think that putting 771 4x4 posts into the ground is going to change the rotation of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Who would like to be next?
Hi, my name's Carol Marr, M-A-H-E-R. I live on 1667 Beach Drive, Sunset Beach. I have lived here for the last 10 years, and I've never had a problem finding a spot on the beach. However, at times over the years, I've seen residents on the beach or homeowners put up obstacles in the easement. And yes, people from, Sailfish and streets where people haven't parked, and they've over the years been able to plant shrubs and whatever they want, that needs to be enforced. They have to, bite the bullet like everybody else. 20-foot driveways, shrubs removed, mailbox put in a proper place, not blocking a whole parking spot. I've gone over these maps multiple times and driven by and looked at this, and there are numerous violations and that don't comply to the ordinances that we've all talked about. Otto has put ordinances as number 5. The first 4 items on his list are all in regards to money. Nothing in making spots that you say are there. Because and also you'll have to deal with the postal system and find out mailboxes that are just phony mailboxes. That are one instance that I have seen that one residence has mailboxes on both sides of the street. Now you tell me, which one does the post office deliver to? I can give you the exact number of that house. How many others are there? This is something we have to consider first before we decide that there is a real issue. And one last thing is, I don't want to see 700 signs on the streets saying this is a parking spot. And having this service in a lot of ways is going to make it very difficult. We all know people that are technology challenged. And this is going to be very difficult for some older residents to get to the beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next? Go ahead, ma'am. If you will, let this lady, I'm sorry, she didn't say, you're next, no, sir.
My name is Anita Daniels. I live at 407 2nd Street on the island.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Anita Daniels.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch it with both.
Anita.
Okay.
Daniels.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. My concern is your parking, and part of these homeowners, this is a liability expense. They're going to have to get liability insurance. If you don't rent your home, you don't have the liability expense insurance. If you rent your home, there's a liability expense that you have to add on to your homeowner's insurance. And it's like a $3 million policy in case somebody gets hurt. If somebody gets hurt parking on this easement and part of their property, they get hurt, they fall, they're going to sue the homeowner. They're not going to sue the town. So you got to look at homeowners insurance and the liability clause. Second is, if you put signs up on these spaces, you're now violating ADA because you're going to have to come up with 22 handicap places closer to the beach. You don't want to violate the ADA regulations, so you need to follow that. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, sir, the guy that was coming in. Go ahead, sir. You good?
My name's Jeff Sullenberger. I live at 202 North Shore Drive West. I've been vacationing here for 20 some years, and we've owned property on the island now for quite some time. My first question would be why we're even here today. I don't think you're ready to talk about this, and I'm a little concerned about the process that's going through. I commend you for looking at parking. It needs to be looked at. We need to have a long-term plan, and I'm not sure the plan that you have right now is a good plan for the long term. I think we need to take time. We need to study everything. Some beaches park off the island and shuttle to the island. You've heard a whole bunch of other comments about this. You don't have 700 parking spaces. I've gone through your list. I have a 20-foot wide driveway. My mailbox is exactly where it's supposed to be. You got a parking spot going 5 feet into my driveway. Are you going to move my driveway? You guys aren't ready. You need to take more time. We need to think about this. I commend you for doing this, but it needs to go slower, and we need to have an actual plan. Most of the beaches that these companies are working with, they have improved paved parking. Very few of them are parking on grass in front of people's houses. They have multiple parking lots through the island. There's 10 or 11 undeveloped second row or third row lots. Okay, has anybody looked at long-term parking in specific places? Has anybody looked at what's going to happen when all these cars come and they're dripping oil and everything down through the sand? Okay, are you going to put sidewalks in on all the streets where you're putting parking? Curbs, are you going to improve them? I got people walking down the street. I got people roller skating down the street. I have 2-year-old people walking down the street. Now you're going to line these rows with cars, and all these people are still going to be walking up and down the streets with their baby carriages and everything else they've got. Are you really ready to improve all these areas where you're going to put parking? You don't take care of the 10-foot easement between me and my neighbor now. I pave it, I water it, I weed it, I mow it, I take care of it. Are you guys ready? I just don't think you're ready. And I think you need to slow down, take your time, come up with a long-range plan, and not plan on solving it by next season's beach season. But it does need to be addressed. I commend you for looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rich Serrato, 517 Twisted Oak Lane. Mr. Mayor, I provided you all a plan. I hope you had time to read it. In order to solve the beach parking problem, we need to buy land on the island. There is land available if we're creative and have a vision. We should have paid parking for guests. There should be free parking for our citizens, and we should have a designated area for our citizens. When the lot is full, it's full. We should no longer have parking on the side streets, including Canal Street and Main Street. It's too dangerous. It's too congested. We could have a fire or any other kind of emergency. This can be done. And I wonder why here we are in June, and we discover this in the Beacon without this issue ever being on the agenda is troubling. You did the same thing with the second park. You did the same thing with the DPW facility. It has to stop. It's not right. It's not fair to these people. Between the DPW building and the second park is nearly $7 million. That $7 million could be an investment to buy land. We don't need a second park. So don't force feed us. We don't need it. We need parking issue resolved now. It's been a perennial problem. I've attempted to address it, and the council has ignored it. This is not a political speech. I'm not running for any office. I got my own personal problems, and that's why I have to rush home. So there's no reason. And the communication here needs to improve. Things have to go on the agenda. In the past, when we had major issues, we had community meetings, like the first park and even the dredging program. Now it's a hide and seek. That has to change. We're running this damn town like as though it's a counter-communications, a counterintelligence operation. Public relations, collusion, exclusion, and confusion. And that's what we got. And no one wants to take responsibility for it. Look at the budget. You're going to rubber stamp it tonight. And only one council member had the courage to know that there are concerns. Not long ago, we had a 52% tax rate increase, and you doubled our fire fee later. It's wrong. This is pure secrecy. Sorry, Mr. Corbett. You're the architect of this. Yeah. I have to go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Who's next? Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Lisa. Wasn't too long ago, I was sitting in that seat in another place here in Brunswick County. But
Your name and address, sir?
Yes, sir. Jeff Griffin, 9024 Forest Drive, Southwest, Sunset Beach. Me and or my family have been stakeholders in Sunset Beach for going on now about 50 years. So probably a lot more than a lot of the folks in the room. And I've heard a lot of great comments about parking, and that's kind of where I was going to go tonight. And rather than rehash a lot, I did want to go on the record to say that I'm opposed to paid parking in Sunset Beach. I'm wondering how this is all going to coordinate with the county's regional parking plan, which was last year, that you may or may not have known about. And I'm sorry for folks that have planted or landscaped the right of way, but the right of way is the right of way. And you know, if there's driveways that are out of code, they need to be remediated. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Art Ingram, 1705 Canal. I've been a homeowner at Sunset Beach since 1980, so 42 years. I heard a lot of comments tonight that I agree with, so I just want to reiterate a couple of them. I live in what I invested in Sunset Beach as a second home, and consider where I live a residential area. And now we're getting Sunset Beach, which is a public beach and everybody has access to Sunset Beach, but it's a 3-mile long beach. And when it's full, it's full. So understand that we need to control the parking. And now it becomes a question of how we do that. Putting parking signs up in front of everybody's house that's going to have a parking place out front is not consistent with what we've done, burying power lines, having really nice walkways across to the beach. So I'm on record as saying I really oppose that. As a homeowner, I've seen a lot of challenges with parking out on the street. Welcome people parking where they can park. But what I don't welcome is their considering everything public, not private. I've had so many incidences of, I just want to use your shower to rinse off. Believe me, your shower is, maybe my kid can use it as a bathroom. What we're doing is inviting to solve this parking issue that we face with the people coming over onto the island when it's full or close to being full. It's just an overload. So I think we need to kind of have, if you're talking about controlling things and managing things, we need to be able to manage that. So you've got people down at the east end of the island or the far west end of the island. What do they do when they have to use the restroom? Have you considered that? So just as the last gentleman said, I think there's some long-range planning, some investments in land that could be utilized as a managed parking area instead of quibbling about the setback on an individual residential home. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Mark Kramer, live at 902 North Shore Drive West. I had a lot of great comments tonight. I want to jump on a couple of them, concur with them. I think the visual impact of the 700 plus signs will be terrible. I think you've heard that from a lot of people. I think it's just it's something that's really a significant issue for everybody in terms of looking at this proposal. I'd also suggest that in all of this discussion tonight, I haven't heard anybody make a good presentation as to the problem we're addressing. We're dealing with a solution to something, a plan to do something, but I haven't heard anybody say, well, and here's why we're doing this. Here's the problem. And maybe there is a genuine problem that this solution is looking for, but I'd like to hear somebody state that. Now, y'all have been working on it, so obviously somebody's raised an issue. I think in this kind of circumstance where you have a lot of different opinions, obviously has been expressed tonight, and an issue that council believes we should look at, maybe some kind of citizens committee you could set up with 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 representatives to look at the problem, discuss options on it, and maybe make some kind of recommendation to you. That is a way to get citizen input on a sort of a steady basis over a period of time. It doesn't sound like there's anything that's particularly serious about getting this done right now. Looking at it from a long-term perspective, that's a good idea. It could be a problem. And I would suggest that I know if you go in there in that map and you draw lines on the map, there are 753 spaces. But actually on the ground now, there's nowhere near that many. And I think if we put a plan in place that says, okay, now we've got 753 spaces and they're actually physically on the ground with a sign, you'll have what they call induced demand. They'll say, hey, there's all kind of parking on the beach. Let's go. And if you thought we were crowded to begin with, you create the spaces. I think it opens that floodgate up. So it may or may not be the right solution to whatever the problem is. So I would suggest we get a hard definition of the problem, look at a variety of solutions to it, work out a plan, short-term, long-term, and approach it in that way to try to come up with some solution for whatever exactly this problem is. what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am. I think they're just going out the door. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Deanne Burcham, and I'm at 423 Marlin. A lot of addresses with the public parking has already been raised, but I wanted to bring up, did some rough figures. This will bring approximately 2,200 to over 5,000 people a day more to Sunset Beach than is already at Sunset Beach, and it's going to be located on one end of the island. That's a concern. It's a concern for space on the beach. It's a concern for safety and security for the beach patrol, the police, everything else. You haven't mentioned putting in public restrooms. People are going to need to go to the bathroom. This is going to be not a money-making thing for Sunset Beach. I think it's going to be a detrimental thing. I haven't pulled up the who owns what, but when you come onto the beach across from Sunset Vacations, there's a whole lot of pretty palm trees and grassy knoll. If that's owned by the city, maybe you should make that a parking lot and charge, but y'all are going full throttle on this, 750 spaces. That's going to bring a huge number of people once they find out there's spaces on Sunset Beach. Let's go to the beach for the day. There's a concern as a homeowner. I live there full time and I'm home by myself a lot. You know, you don't know what kind of people are going to be parking, whether you call it an easement, parking space, whatever, on my property. They're going to be using my shower outdoors. They're going to be walking around the house, using the bathroom, and I'm liable for them getting hurt, like someone else said. I have a lot of concerns, a lot of security issues, environmental concerns, and y'all need to think about this long and hard. I don't think it's going to make the money for Sunset Beach like the guy said it is. I think it's going to cause more problems, more financial difficulties. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Martin, 809 Shoreline Drive West. And just for the record, I'm against paid parking. But I think we have a parking problem, but it's not necessarily on the beach. I go to the town park for Thursday night, for the Thursday markets. I was there for Possibility. I actually rode my bike for Possibility because I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of parking. So I would encourage the council to maybe look at parking, but look at it as a way, how can we get the vendors who are making, their livelihood and the businesses who are also making their livelihood, what can we do there for parking to help that situation out? I love the markets, and I totally respect all the businesses. So my challenge to you is forget the parking on the beach, worry about the parking around Town Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all back there? Anyone else in here?
Can I make one last comment?
Go ahead, sir. I'll let you. Just be brief. I'm gonna let him go ahead. I got this. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to comment as a homeowner, hearing the issues that were brought up about the landscaping. I did bring that up, and that it's not that I want to landscape up to the road into that right of way, but if I don't, it's all weeds.
Yes, sir.
So that was one point I was making, is that take over the landscaping if this is the plan. But I don't agree with the plan. I don't think it's a good idea. So don't do it, and I'll keep up the landscaping.
Thank you. All right. Got one more? Go ahead, sir.
I'm Jim Litton from 622 Silos Way over at Carolina Shores or Calabash. It's Farmer Brunswick, wherever it is. But I moved here in July from Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I turned 50 years old, I'm 67 now, my sister-in-law had this great idea, let's go downtown, celebrate your 50th birthday. I don't know if anybody goes to Charlotte, but it's all parking, paid parking all the time, if you can find a spot. So that was my last trip downtown Charlotte, even though I lived there until this past year. Don't go, don't pay to park. Won't support. I went to that little function, the park you're talking about a few weeks ago. Went down there to buy a painting of the kindred spirit. My neighbor told me.
Sir, would you use the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Please?
I went down there specifically to buy a painting. My neighbor told me that it was down there. Went down there and they'd already sold it. I will never go there to pay to park. I won't spend 10 cents there. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, I'm quite surprised the way
Name
a lot
and
of people.
address, sir.
My name is Dr. Ronald Cohn. I own multiple properties on the island, neighbors to some of you here. I'm at 401 16th Street and a few others. Okay. First of all, I want to commend you. It's a very difficult thing to do what you're doing. And our group, and I want you to understand, I sent a letter to Lisa. I represent more than 24 residents on the island in the comments, the 10 comments that I'm going to make to you today. And I'll be within that 3 minutes. We are residents of the east end of the island, and it is our consensus that parking should be made available to non-residents at a fee that the city establishes that is reasonable. And we're not here to tell you what that is at this time. We, however, feel that tax-paying residents, especially those here on the island who are directly affected by this, should be given either 2 or 4 free passes annually to use for parking. Those owners who rent their property already pay taxes and additional fees and taxes that might benefit, and they might benefit by 4 passes. But those of us who use it for our own personal residence would at least require 2. Number 3, our group recognizes something that no one brought up tonight, that 60% of the designated parking that is presently listed here on the east end will create a 3-to-1 congestion that's not there now. By that I'm saying is if you look at the map, the majority of the parking is now going to be on the east end of the island, which means that end of the island is going to be increased the number of people on the beach at that end of the island. We bought there for specific reasons. I've been here for over 24 years already. And you need to look at how many you're putting where you're looking as well. Number 4, also it leaves less available or no spaces for our families and our guests to park without paying. Some of the spaces in each street should be set aside just for our families. Of course, I'm going to take that back because you've said possibly, most likely, you will not charge our those of us who are there. But if you are, please consider, we bought these lots for $250,000, $500,000, and there are people who paid $1 million for lots. And yet people who are living elsewhere for 30, 40, and whatever thousands of dollars they did off the island, that was a decision that they made. And you have a fiduciary responsibility to us. I know it's difficult for them to understand that what you're doing is difficult. You have a responsibility to protect our investments as well. Number 5, we recognize that the council's intent is to reduce the deleterious effects on us as island owners by the increased traffic, the trash, the carbon-based pollution that will occur. Number 6, we recognize one thing that you didn't say tonight is Cobia Street represents an avenue that is very long because it adjoins this North Shore. People drive down there at 40 and 50 miles an hour. Please take Cobia Street off your map because you have people going down there. It's not like Marlin and the other ones and things like that. And I'll be very quick on the last couple. We think the number.
We really need to tie it off, if you will.
I'm sorry?
We need to tie it off because we got.
Okay. All right, then let me just leave the number 9 and 10. It says, we do feel that the monies you collected should be allocated to improving the island, and particularly someone mentioned the park. This would be a good way to fund that park. Take the monies, don't put it into the general fund, utilize it for the benefit of Sunset citizens. And the last thing is, we hope the council sets up a citizens committee made up of people who are directly affected, the people who live on the island. Include us in a new committee that you as the mayor set up to consider these avenues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Doug, come on, sir.
My name is Douglas Hargett,
You need to move it. If you need to move it down, sir. Go ahead.
421 37th Street. In a few minutes, I'm going to be asking y'all to listen to me about something. And to that point, if you had listened to me many, many years ago, when we were thinking about building that bridge, we wouldn't be talking about parking today.
All right, that's it. We'll be moving on now. That's all. Call for just a brief recess. Like to call this meeting back to order. Next up will be our general council discussion. First up, we got a thing here. Let's see here.
Okay.
I know you got
Yeah,
that one. This is one they asked to read. Regarding golf carts, the Sunset Beach Town Council voted unanimously to prohibit golf carts on the beach strand due to safety and emergency response concerns. Before making the decision, the council heard from the fire chief reporting that issues that occurred on the strand during the last season, for example, golf carts getting stuck in the emergency access lane, hindering emergency response personnel and vehicles from access to the beach strand quickly. Since the decision was made, staff has researched and brainstormed regarding means to accommodate golf carts on the strand. Ultimately, the staff returned to the safety and emergency response concerns raised and determined that due to public safety concerns, golf carts must be prohibited from accessing the beach strand. This decision is in line with the surrounding beach communities that also do not allow golf carts on the strand. The town and private business offer other accommodations for those in assistance accessing the strand. That was asked to be read. And you said, John Corbett, you think you said had something? Go ahead.
I'd like to express thanks to the town staff, to Sunset Vision volunteers, to the Committee to Honor American Veterans, the whole team of members and volunteers, and all those who attended our Memorial Day ceremony last week. We appreciate your support. It was a nice ceremony. Fire Chief did a great job talking about Memorial Day, and the Honor Guard represented our police department and fire department with great honor. So thank you very much for all who contributed to that.
Does any other member? Go ahead.
In that same line for Memorial Day, I want to thank the businesses that allowed us to park in their lots. I am going to name them all. The Boat Landing Restaurant, Krabby Oddwaters, Bill Seafood, Outfitters, Dollar General, Mavericks Point, Mavericks Java, Dave's Outlet, Island Breeze, and I want to thank one citizen in particular who never really wants much credit. And that's Rich Dobkin from Fibber McGee's. Rich is so generous helping out town nonprofits. You see the flags in the roundabout on holidays. Rick funds that all. He's been very supportive of the Committee to Honor America's Veterans and what we try and do, especially in our Veterans Assistance Program. So I want to say a big thank you to Rich. He does a great job. That's it.
Mr. Phelps, you have anything? No. Mr. Hargraves? All right. Moving on. Consent agenda. The Fire Department April 2022 report. The Planning Department April 2022 report. The Finance Department April 2022 report. Public Works Stormwater Department April 2022 report. Building Inspection Department April 2022 report. And the Police Department April 2022 report. Has any member of council got any questions in regards to the items there?
That's it.
Good. Mr. Nerd?
None.
Mr. Corbett?
None.
None.
All right. If there's no questions, do I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of council or any member of town staff that does not have to be for anything else, you're welcome to go home. All right. Next up, Town Administrator Report, Ms. Lisa Anglin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I've only got a couple of things tonight. First of all, last Wednesday was our first concert. It was attended by record numbers, and that was great. It's a great event for citizens and tourists and visitors alike. A couple of changes this year. We've included an area blocked off near the gazebo where the band's set up for low-speed vehicles and golf carts to park so that we can separate the public pedestrians from the golf courses and golf carts, and that actually worked out really well. The council also agreed this year for nonprofit organizations to be allowed to set up a booth during the concerts, and they will be located in the back corner near Fibber McGee's for if you would like to go by and help those organizations. The town has been involved with the North Carolina Coastal Management's Resiliency Coastal Communities Program. We received grants to complete phase 1, which was a risk and a vulnerability assessment. Phase 2, by developing a prioritized projects list for the environment. We are now moving into phase 3. Last Friday, we submitted 2 grants. The first one was for a 40th Street project near the intersection of North Shore Drive West for a green infrastructure project to install 275 linear feet of bank stabilization to prevent erosion. And the second grant was to install what they call SAFL baffles into the stormwater catch basins located on the island to reduce the sediment and material that is going into the waterways and the marshlands. And there is 14 of those. Finally, we have requested various things from DOT over the last couple of months. I am pleased to announce that they've agreed with some and have unfortunately not been able to agree with others. The biggest thing that they did agree to was a feasibility study for raising the causeway, adding lower advisory speed limit signs approaching the roundabout, and allowing the town to utilize the space under the bridge beside Fire Station 1 for parking during special events. They were unable to approve us parking under the middle section of the bridge due to their stormwater management program and the portion of the bridge located beside the boat ramp for pickleball courts for endangered or protected plant life. So other than that, I will be working with DOT to secure how we will be able to access the fire station, the bridge beside the fire station as parking. For right now, the only thing that I do know for sure is that that parking lot will have to be manned by staff to protect the bridge from being damaged. So there'll be more to hear about that. But that's all I got.
Does any member of council got any questions for Administrator? Go ahead. John.
Are they still moving, is NCDOT still moving forward with the speed limit assessment for Old Georgetown Road?
Yes.
They're going to do that this summer?
Yes. They haven't told me yet when, but it will be done sometime
Okay,
in
and
the
how
summer
about
season.
progress on finding funding for the stoplight at Old Georgetown Road and Clubhouse?
That's in the hands of GSATs. Have y'all heard anything at your meetings?
They haven't met for a while.
I can send a follow-up.
Yeah.
But last I heard that it was put in GSAT's hands, which is Grand Strand Area Transportation Study, which we are a part of with Ocean Isle, Charlotte, and South Carolina.
Any member of council got anything else for Ms. Anglin? Nope. Not. Okay. Not, let's move on to the Planning Board UDO rewrite activity report. Mr. Shad.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Last UDO update, we finished Article 7, covered Article 8, and Article 9. We picked back up with Article 10 on June 16th. Article 7 covered supplemental regulations. Article 8 covered the non-conforming situations, and then Article 9 covered performance standards. Article 10, which we will pick up with on June 16th, will be landscape buffering standards. Any questions?
Any member of council got any questions?
Are you on schedule, particularly with the money we're paying to the
We are roughly about a month behind.
month behind?
So we're about 2 meetings behind, if probably, at least a month.
But we still have the Council of Government advisor working with us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Wes is still here. We have been doubling up on meetings when we can. I did have a planning board meeting last week that had 4 items on the agenda, so I wasn't able to double up. So I knew that going into it, probably will not be able to double up in July. I continue to meet with the chairman of the planning board to make sure we try to stay as close to schedule as possible. But right now we're about a month behind. So
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Moving up next to our old business, Chapter 140 Minimum Housing Standard Ordinance Adoption. Mr. Kerry White, who is not here tonight.
Mayor, Kerry is not at work today. He's under the weather. But we do have Mr. Gaines with us, who is from InFocus, who is the gentleman that we have contracted with his company to provide minimum housing standard, nuisance, and abandoned vehicles. And these are the three ordinance. The Chapter 140 is an adoption, and the next two are amendments to existing ordinances. And he is here to answer any of your questions. You've seen this for a couple of months now, and you've held your public hearings.
Does any member of council have any questions in regards to this first one?
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify to everybody that the Chapter 140 this is a new ordinance.
That's correct.
Being adopted.
Yes.
That complies with and is in line with the standard North Carolina codes.
Right.
And for other municipalities. So, and you did most of the work, right? Or your company? Okay, thank you.
I have just a quick question. This came from a citizen on page 19 of the housing requirement. Under section 140.13, second paragraph says, no dwelling shall be hereafter erected, altered, moved, or changed in occupancy without a certificate of occupancy. That means does that mean if someone sells their house to someone else, it's got to be inspected before they can take occupancy?
No, it does not. And it also does not include if a renter moves out and another one moves in, that kind of thing. This is mainly tied to if there is a situation where we have to investigate the conditions of the house, then it cannot be, sorry about that. It has to be inspected to make sure that it meets all the housing standards in this ordinance before it can be reoccupied. Now, that being said, if there is a situation where there is continued occupancy during the time that any renovations or repairs are being done, then that doesn't change that. Nobody has to move out or anything like that in that situation.
Okay. I'm just reading it verbatim here. It sounds like it's changed in occupancy without a certificate of occupancy. Changed in occupancy. Okay. All right.
Anyone else got any questions?
No,
I'm good with.
What is the pleasure of council in regards to the Chapter 140 minimum housing standards?
I make a motion that we adopt Chapter 140 minimum housing standards ordinance adopt.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up will be Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 90, Abandoned Vehicles. Same thing. Go ahead, sir. You're standing in for Mr. Kerry.
Okay, this ordinance mainly was just to update what you had already on the books to bring it into compliance on a couple issues with some changes in the state law, and to change it from the building inspector doing the enforcement to myself as your code enforcement officer. And I believe that pretty much covers all the changes. It was minor changes overall. Unless you all have some questions.
So you'll be the code administrator?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, on page 6, B, there was a question back a couple of months ago about the town council would be the appeal board, and that board is actually the Board of Adjustment. So that change has been made as well.
Okay.
Any questions from council?
I have one other too from a citizen. On page 3, abandoned motor vehicle number 1. A motor vehicle that is left upon a public street or highway in violation of a law or ordinance prohibiting parking. That mean that any car that gets a ticket for prohibited parking could be taken away?
It could, but this definition group right here for abandoned vehicles
is verbatim out of the state law. So this is not something that we made up or anything like that.
Okay.
This is word for word from the state law.
All right.
Okay.
Because the police gave about 64 tickets last year, and we couldn't take all those cars. That's why.
Well, and not all of those would qualify.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody's parking illegally for a couple hours or something like that, that's not going to qualify as an abandoned vehicle. But somebody that leaves their vehicle parked on the road and the tires go flat and tags are stolen and stuff like that, it could be handled as an abandoned vehicle under that.
That seems to give the police department flexibility and discretion when evaluating the vehicle.
Right.
Any more questions in regards to this?
Oh, that's good.
What is the pleasure of council in regards to the ordinance amendment? Chapter 90, abandoned vehicles.
I'll make a motion. We pass the. Look at it again.
Chapter 90.
Do I have a
The
second?
ordinance amendment, not chapter 90 abandoned vehicles.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion at all? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is ordinance 9301, premises to keep clean amendment.
Okay, this, you actually had this ordinance already on the books, part of it anyway. We made a couple minor modifications to bring it in line, and also we added a couple minor additions to it. And then if you go down to paragraph E, from that point on, we added some things that throughout the years in dealing with different jurisdictions, these are some of the things that have come up that they have requested that they be added because they've identified them as being nuisance issues. And so this has kind of become our go-to listing. We've also added in the process of how we would go investigate it, how notices would be issued and so forth, allowing for the time for abatement. And if the owner of the property doesn't do the abatement in the required time, then the town has the authority to go on and do the abatement, issue civil penalties, different things like that.
Now, who's the code administrator for this?
Me.
Congratulations.
Till y'all fire me, I'm.
Well, this edition of the public nuisance information plugs a big gap that was in our ordinances.
Yes.
And it's very useful. Thank you.
Much needed.
Yes, much. You're right.
Has anyone got any more questions?
Nope.
If not, what is the pleasure of the council?
I move that we approve the changes to ordinance 93-.01 premises to be kept clean amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for putting this all together.
You're
Next-
welcome. Look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our budget amendment for fiscal year 2021-22. Ms. Tara Nichols, this is you, ma'am.
Okay. So in front of you, you have budget amendment for the current fiscal year. I had handed out an amended version of this. So GASB updated the way that they handle leases. And so we have to account for the capital upfront whenever we do a lease. And some of these leases are 5 years long. It doesn't affect our fund balance or our cash or anything like that. It's another financing source that we're increasing and a capital that we're increasing. It's just paperwork. So that is in here. We had some additional expenditures. This is basically the year-end cleanup. It's decisions that council has made, and we're just getting caught up to the end of the year. This should be our last one for this fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions about the budget amendment?
Any questions from council?
We've talked about all of these before.
Yes.
Right.
This is-
It's not really anything new other than the leases, but that doesn't affect our fund balance.
If there's no further questions, what is the pleasure of council in regards to the budget amendment?
I make a
Fiscal
mo-
year 21-22.
I make a motion that we approve budget amendment fiscal year 21-22.
Second. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
moving on, adoption of the fiscal year 22-23 budget ordinance, tax rate, and fee schedules. Ms. Tara Nichols, go ahead.
So in front of you have the budget message that I wrote. You have our draft budget ordinance, the worksheets, and the fee schedule for fiscal year 22-23. We've had multiple budget workshops that started on February 25th. The total general fund budget is $8,556,750. It does include a general fund balance appropriation of $111,170. This is strictly for some of the capital expenditures, and then $172,000 out of the fire department's assigned fund balance for capital in the fire department. This budget maintains the same tax rate of 16 cents, and there are no increases in any of the taxes. And the updated fee schedule is attached. I believe that the fee schedule is not changing at this point.
Later in the meeting.
Yeah.
What's that?
Possibly.
Later in the meeting.
Later in the meeting.
Yes.
So are there any questions with the budget for
Can I make a
22-23?
Go ahead.
I don't have a question. I strongly encourage everybody to read the budget letter. It explains what we use the money for, how much money is in there, and what the expenditures are. And I would also encourage anybody who listened to numbers earlier in the meeting, before you go any further, to double check the numbers and where they came from and how they evolved. Tara, again, you've done a great job with our budget and taking care of us.
Thank you.
And this is not a rubber stamp. This is a process that's been going on for 4 months with lots of discussion and input. So,
Tara, I'd like to second that. This is my first time through, and you and Lisa really do a great job of leading us through and getting a lot of input from the various departments. So your help is greatly appreciated, and your whip, you did wonderful teaching me especially all about this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Tara, you made it easy for us.
That's my job.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
And just to go along with what Mayor Pro Tem Corporate said, all this paperwork.
There you go.
All of this paperwork is on the website in the department section under the finance department. You'll click on budget. It's the last 2 items on that list.
What is the pleasure of council in regards to adoption of the fiscal year 2022 budget ordinance, tax rate, and fee schedule?
I move that we adopt it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is our ERC. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Tara. Be safe.
Thank you, Tara.
ERC appointment consideration of the 2 new members out of the people that came in. What is the pleasure of council in regards to this, or does anybody have any comments?
2 comments.
Go ahead.
Both of the candidates that we had, Stephen Hines and Mila Millman, are civic-minded volunteers, very eager to get involved or more involved in our town activities, and they have backgrounds that are very conducive to support our objectives with the Environmental Resource Committee. So I strongly support both of their appointments.
Any other members of council have anything? All right, so what is the pleasure of council in regards to Mr. Stephen Hines and Miss, is it Mila Millman?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I move that we appoint Mr. Hines and Miss Millman with 2-year terms to the ERC.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on next to new business. Jurisdiction Alligator Handler Property Release Form, Mr. Ken Claymore.
Good evening. Thank you. Quite some time ago, a couple years ago, we began the process of working with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission to certify officers to become jurisdictional alligator handlers. That process took a little while just because of the North Carolina Wildlife Commission getting that program approved and getting it up and running. We have 2 officers now that are certified as jurisdictional alligator handlers, which means they are able to relocate nuisance alligators in town-owned bodies of water within Sunset Beach. The release that's before you for approval would give our folks the ability to go to places like Sea Trail or Sandpiper Bay and get permission from a property owner for a private pond that we could release a gator into. Now, we wouldn't take an alligator from Sea Trail and drive it out to Sandpiper. We wouldn't take one from Sandpiper and take it down to Oyster Bay. But we want to keep them as close as we can. This form has been through the review of our legal counsel and also the North Carolina League. And it's before you to give it your blessing so that we could begin to get permission from property owners and landowners that have ponds. Yes, sir.
Are we going to try to get permission ahead of having an alligator incident?
Yes.
Or
and our animal control officer, who's also JH certified, has kind of put out some feelers already and said, once this comes, we're going to be coming to you to see if you'll be willing to sign this. Yes. So if it's approved tonight, my bet would be he's going to hit the ground running tomorrow to get signatures on these pieces of paper.
who's the second? Officer Hall is the first one.
Correct. The
Who's
second one is Officer Tanya Davis. It's not Chief Ken Claymore. It will never be Chief Ken Claymore. No, sir.
Has Officer Davis wrestled with an alligator before?
There's a video of her doing just that this weekend.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions regarding this?
I think this is a good service, Ken, and I think it's a service needed in our town. And I hope you get the cooperation of the private bodies of water from places like Sandpiper and Sea Trail and Oyster Point. When needed, you could use their ponds when necessary. And
it's a benefit for those communities, for their residents.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Digressing just a bit, can you explain why we had alligators on the island this past week?
They go where they want.
That's a good point.
I was going to say because
They
of
weren't
the
taking up-
available
well,
parking,
actually,
but
one
I
was
didn't
taking
think
up
that
the
would be
parking spot.
appropriate. Yeah, I don't know why they were there.
I can give you an idea later.
Okay, thank you. All right.
We'll have a motion in regards to this permission release.
I'll make a motion, we accept the property release form.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up will be amendment for 511 Traffic Code, Chapter 70, 99 penalty. Go ahead, Chief.
What I'm asking for council to consider is a change to the penalty, the fees for a violation of handicap parking. Currently, our violations are set for $25 if they're paid within 72 hours. After that, they increase to $100. Or I'm sorry, they go from 25 to 50 to 100. What I'm asking the council to consider is for handicap parking violations to kind of be in line with what the North Carolina general statute has for handicap parking, in that we would charge $100 for a violation. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. I'm sorry. I digress. $150 for the initial violation if paid within 72 hours, and increase to $200 after that for each separate or distinct offense. And then after that, if it's not paid within 7 days, the fine will be $250 for that violation.
And this is in line with North Carolina law.
Yes, sir. Yeah, those numbers are right from.
Remember, council, have any more questions on regards to this?
I think it's a good idea.
I think it is too.
So what's the pleasure of council in regards to amendment of traffic code 70-70-99
I
penalty.
make a motion, we adopt the amendment for traffic codes for traffic code chapter 70, 70.99 penalties.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
In addition to that change to the fee schedule that you just adopted with no changes, this will change that fee schedule. And in addition, this isn't an ordinance, but we would also like for you to include a vehicle impound fee and a vehicle storage fee now that we have the secured parking area on site, that we won't have to pay for our impounded vehicles to be housed somewhere else. Vehicle impound fee, $200. Vehicle storage fee, $25 per day after day one. So we're just asking for you to make this fee schedule adopted as amended.
Lisa, what do we do? Hire, call private towing companies to remove a vehicle?
Yes. Normally, it's just 911 will give
Next
you
on the
whoever's next in rotation.
Does our cost for that cover the towing fees? What we're going to charge for the impound fee?
Been a while since I towed a vehicle. You have any idea?
It depends where it is. So if we would get into a pursuit and have it towed from Charlotte, it could vary. I don't think that we've seen one that's been in excess of $200, but they're definitely over 100. And with fuel surcharges, they go up. And we're currently paying that fee, but it's being housed somewhere else. And we try to recoup through the courts if we can. But now that we have a place to keep it, it just makes more sense to have, if it's evidence, especially to have it here.
In regards to the impound fee for the day, and then by the day and then the initial fee, what is the pleasure of council in regards to this? You want a motion on this one, Lisa? Or you just want to?
You need a motion.
Do you need a motion? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the fees, the updated fees.
As amended, as this
As
angle
amended.
described.
Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Next up is the special events discussion regarding regulations. Ms. Lisa Anglin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know and have heard, this is a hot button topic, and council, we are requesting that you just give us some guidance for where we need to go from here. The town park was opened in 2014. We never had any idea that the popularity that the park would become with the amount of special events that were being housed down there and the number of patrons that were coming to those events. Lately, we have heard concerns expressed regarding traffic, parking, insufficient restroom facilities, public safety, types and frequencies of use, etc. Chief Claymore and I started looking into the regulations and have discovered that we have 4 different sets of rules and regulations for the town park, most of which are conflicting in one way or another. That is Chapter 97, Streets and Sidewalks, Parades and Special Events, Chapter 99, which are the town park regulations, UDO Article 11, signs, specifically 11.3, signs exempt for permitting requirements, and the special events policy that was adopted by council in November of 2017. We are in the process of trying to combine all 4 of these into one cohesive document that would regulate the use of the park and things that can be done, should be done, need to be done in a way to manage the parking, the traffic, and all the things that go along with it. So with that said, we have Chief Claymore and I have provided the town attorney with all 4 of these documents, and we'll be bringing back to the council after he does his legal review a one chapter that will all be incorporated into Chapter 99, which will not only handle the town park regulations, it will handle any special events that are occurring within town limits. We had given you 4 points that would help us to start the process of building these regulations, and ask you to consider those, and then direct staff as to how you want us to continue to enforce the parking and traffic safety issues that are being experienced right now. In addition to requirements for the applicants of medium and large events to either hire people that are in the security and traffic control business, to find volunteers that are capable and dedicated to handle those issues during their events, or to pay the town police force for handling the before, during, and after until we can get these regulations on the books with the council's desires as the park and the special events inside town limits moves forward.
So we start this discussion, council.
The mine is short. What we come to realize is that these money-making events that are held in our park are costing our taxpayers money. And any enterprise or business that is making money using town property should be liable for all expenses. It shouldn't cost our taxpayers 1 penny. That's it.
Mr. Corbett, go ahead.
The first point you had there was establish a definition of a special event. My recommendation is to use the longer, more detailed recommendation, but I have 3 suggested changes, additions to that. The question is, how do you want to handle that here? I mean, does anybody have strong preferences for the short version versus the long version? I think the long one is more inclusive. It gives more specificity. So when somebody is looking at what does it mean, what do we do, then it comes out better.
And Ken and I both agree with that.
Yeah.
And would like to use the second.
Okay.
I'd also agree with that. Use the second. It's got a lot to it, and it covers everything that I could think of in the town.
A couple of things that I had there was in the definition of it is defined as, before getting to a celebration, be any special activity to include, but not necessarily limited to, celebration, gathering, meeting. It gives you flexibility. A second one would be, in addition, at the end of that, saying the town administrator has the authority to make determinations on activities not specified herein. We keep running into things that we haven't anticipated in the past. And on the 1, 2, 3, 4th line, when we're going through park areas, facilities, sidewalks, streets, and things like that, or other public places within the town, just make sure that the special event covers not just the park, but any other place in the town that we want to do special events.
Right.
So
good.
So that's the direction on number 1. Yeah, did you have something?
No, I just decided I agree with that.
Okay.
Those changes.
Yeah, so that's good.
What's the direction you're going to be giving our staff on number 2?
So I'd just like to make a few comments before we get into
Go ahead, sir.
this. Just for everybody here from both sides, we've heard from a lot of vendors. We've also heard from a lot of businesses in the area. And as we've gotten into this deeper, we've found that this is like a big ball of yarn that's all mixed up. And we're trying to figure out a way how to unwind it and wind it back up again and make it equitable for everybody. So I don't think that this will be and that this is me speaking, I don't believe this will be a fast process. I don't think we're not trying to make any rash decisions. We want the vendors to know that we hear you. We want to support small businesses in our community, especially considering the past couple of years. But we also know that we have brick and mortar businesses that we're trying to support them too. So as we're going through this process, it may take us a little while. But we're trying to figure out a way for this to work for everybody. Is what we're trying to find a balance. And just like with a lot of these things in this town, it's ironically enough with parking, finding the balance, and that can be difficult as well. So we've been hit with two things simultaneously that are hard to figure out and hard to work through. We want to let everybody know as we're working to try to figure out how to make it work for everybody. That's our goal. We want to try to do what we can to keep both parties objectively happy. That's our goal, as much as we can. That's kind of my piece for in general. So
that's a good point. That's pretty accurate too.
Yes, I agree.
I think that on item number 2, that we need a lot more discussion before we start limiting type and frequency of events in the park by any organization. And so my preference at this point is not to offer any guidance on that until we have a chance to work through these issues in more detail.
Agreed. All right. In regards to number 3.
So this gets back to Mr. Nern's comments about staffing and salaries and such like that. So if we have town employees who are working an event and or police that are required to manage and mitigate the parking issues or concerns, that's taking them away from their primary objective. So we're looking at potentially having to hire officers or something like that for the people holding these events. What the right balance of that is, this is another one that I think is going to take some time. You know, if you have, let's say, up to a certain number of vendors, you're required to have 1 officer. You get to another number of vendors, you have to have 2. And so it's scalable depending on the size is kind of my idea. I don't have a strong suggestion right now. If we need to, if council feels like we need to say for now, if we may have just 1 officer out there to try to help control it, I think that's something that the applicants can plan for and maybe get in place. I think requesting, let's say, 3 officers immediately would be something that may be hard to do. A lot of our officers, when they're not working here or working other jobs at other agencies and things like that, and just to try to figure out a time to organize it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Mm-hmm. I think with that, we also need a more detailed review of the costs to the town, you know, in terms of personnel, in terms of equipment and things like that, so that we know what we're dealing with. And we can lay that menu out to the folks that are sponsoring special events.
Mm-hmm. And your fee schedule already contains police department rates. However, it doesn't account for other staff, such as public works with the barricades and the cones and the blocking off the fire hydrants, or our special events coordinator. That doesn't account for any of those.
Yeah.
So
it also doesn't specify that if you're going to do a major event in the park, how many cones, how many barricades, how many more restrooms you need and stuff like that. And those are types of details that I think that we're going to be charging people for and setting. We need to do our homework first.
Right. And as it is right now, and the way it always has been with administrators prior to myself, the applicant, when they fill out their application and come in, they're telling the town what they're going to need. We're going to need that to reverse as we look into the type of event, the size of the event, the number of patrons that the applicant and us would agree upon that will be coming to the event, and how parking will be handled for those events once we determine how many parking spaces we are able to provide for under the bridge, or you're able to provide in the public parking areas, or that you're able to provide via the business owners allowing you to use some of their parking lots.
I would agree with that. The town needs to have more control over it.
Yeah.
I think as everybody listens, you can understand there's a lot of work for us to do our part now to make this all, put this all together, present it, meet with business people who are around our venues like the park, for example, meet with the people who run the major events or run events in our park to make sure they'll understand these new rules. We got a lot of work to do, a lot of communication to do, to put it together and hopefully make it work for everyone, so everyone's supported.
We have a major event coming up Thursday. Is the town going to continue to make sure that the public safety, traffic, and all of that is done? And in other words, keep a status quo until we can work out some of these decisions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that it? You need
That's all I need.
That's you need?
Number 4?
Oh,
Next up is 4.
Yeah. I think one thing that
Oh, yeah.
number 4 is to require that the special event applicants get written permission ahead of time from the businesses whose parking would be affected by the events. And I think that's I think that's critical and something that can be done on pretty short notice. Maybe not this week, but in the next week or two.
And the requirement or the suggestion is to require the applicant to contact each business and property owner that will be affected by their event, and to either get a permission or a denial. In the chance that they get a denial, then they need to tell us how they're going to ensure that that parking lot is not accessed.
Yeah. I think earlier on in the comments, Mr. Nern listed a number of businesses that agreed to support parking for the Memorial Day ceremony. I mean, that's a good starting list of those businesses that need to be contacted if a major event's going to be done in the park.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Good. Anybody else got anything else? So basically the 4 things that's wrote here, that's what they're giving you to go in that direction. So you'll look into that and we'll go from there.
I will.
Next up, moving on, will be amendment of title 7 Traffic Code, Chapter 72, Parking Regulations. Lisa Anglin.
This is one of the quick things that we can do that we think will assist with the activities that are happening in the park. Right now, the town ordinance says everywhere townwide is parallel parking. This would allow for angle parking for medium and large special events that occur on the mainland within town limits on the same side as lawful traffic movement, and every portion of the park vehicle must be off of the paved portion of the road, and vehicles cannot be backed in at the angle facing the street. This specifically that we're looking at for this period right now is the area on the side of the town park between the exit of the park and Mary's Creek. Is there anywhere else, Ken?
Yeah.
Or is that it?
The concert series parking.
And the concert series.
Yes. Which is along Sunset Boulevard.
Right. Sunset Boulevard North at Queen Anne.
And a lot of people on the east or southeast side of the road park perpendicular.
Right.
Are you talking about areas around specifically the park or events in particular?
Areas where we feel that this amendment to this ordinance angle in
I think
would be used.
Canal would be a spot they could do it there next to the boat ramp parking lot. I know we also, of course, the concert series. We saw from the roundabout past Coastal Outfitters almost to Old Point for the marathon. Everybody was nosed in. Angled parking there would be very, very beneficial to all the people that come to these events.
But the point is that we'll permit angled parking for special events.
Correct. Not on the daily, just for medium and large events. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't really list everything because depending on the special event, you can decide where best to park this type of
correct
angle park. Thank you.
And that's why we didn't list in the ordinance the specific locations. It'll be up to
just
staff
mainland though.
to-
Just
But the
mainland.
point, it's in town.
Yes.
And you,
Yes.
for the special event. you
In
determine.
town, just on the mainland.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
I move we adopt the amendment to the Traffic Code, Chapter 72, parking regulations as contained herein.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next up's disposition of directives. What needs to be put in for our July the 11th meeting? Does anyone from council have anything that needs to go ahead and be put on here directly?
I would like to add a discussion, and this would be of the process to begin talking about how we're going to address parking. It's not solutions, but it's identifying many of the factors, many of the issues that we have to discuss and start to organize and perhaps prioritize how we approach those. But that'll just be a discussion to get us going.
Anything else?
And do you want that for the July 11th
Please.
meeting?
Anything else from council?
And if you can just put on the special events ordinances, and but without a date, and we'll add it when we can, as soon as we can.
Anything else?
I would like to, I'm considering recommending an amendment to the parking fines schedule that we have. I need to discuss it with Lisa and the
Right.
town administrator.
No date yet. Anything else? Not, let's move on to our public comment. Does anyone have any public comments? Do you have, like I said, state your name and your address. I don't think y'all were here, but just state your name and your address, and you got 3 minutes. At 2:30, I'll try to initiate it so you can tie it up so you can get your words in. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Bobby Leonard. I live at 108 Discovery Lake Drive. I will set the record straight in regard to the accident claiming my husband's life on March 2nd, 2019. Gossip and inaccurate information can be devastating to a family. While riding his bicycle on Georgetown Road, my husband, Greg Leonard, was hit by a car driven by Philip Tasker. It was violent. Greg was internally decapitated, spine was severed, leg and pelvic were broke. Greg was placed on a ventilator with no hope for him to breathe on his own. 3 years have passed since we lost Greg. It is time to set the record straight. This is how the information remains in the media today. A 67-year-old man remains hospital after he collided with a car while riding his bike Saturday. According to Sunset Beach Police Chief Ken Claymore, Gregory Leonard was riding his bike on Old Georgetown Road near Angel's Trace shortly after 5 p.m. when he turned into the path of a vehicle being driven by Philip Tasker and was hit. The facts are Greg did not collide with the car. Greg did not turn into the path of a vehicle driven by Mr. Tasker. Mr. Tasker hit my husband from behind. Greg was riding his bike to the right side of the road as witnessed by Gary Taylor when Mr. Tasker hit Greg. Tasker did not give Greg the minimum 4-foot clearance required by law. Mr. Tasker did not slow to safely pass my husband. By law, my husband had full use of the lane, yet rode on the right side along the fog line. Shortly after the accident, our lawyer hired a reconstruction specialist to investigate. Greg was not at fault. The specialist was deposed. My sons and I were deposed. I sat for 6 hours of film deposition, delving into every morsel of our lives. There was nothing sacred. Our friends and neighbors were interviewed. This 3-year process proving my husband did not collide with the car and did not turn in front of the vehicle has been excruciating to my family. When Greg was rear-ended by Tasker, he was thrown into the air, landed headfirst on the roof of Tasker's car before his lifeless body was thrown into the road, only to be revived temporarily by Gary, his son, while Mrs. Taylor called for assistance. Chief Claymore should have simply stated the accident was under investigation. Statements to the press were inaccurate and need to be rectified. 3 painful years have passed. My family and I can begin to heal. Facts are important. These statements in the media perpetuated gossip throughout our community. Statements to the media must be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry for your loss, ma'am. Would anyone else like to speak? Good. Go ahead.
Hi there. My name's Danny Nace. My daughter and I own Blondie's Donuts food truck. I just
sorry,
wanted
what
to.
was your address?
I live in Ocean Isle, so do you still name my address?
Pardon?
I live in Ocean Isle. I don't live here. I'm just a business owner at
We
one of
need
the
your
vendors.
address for the record.
Oh, 2 Cumberland Street, Ocean Isle. So I just want Cumberland.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point out we just worked the Plausibility Festival yesterday, which we sold from 9 to 5. And so with comparing the amount of people that I wait on during a farmer's markets, the parking is different and the bathroom usage is completely different at a farmer's market than it is at a festival. Farmers markets are for people to come and get their bread, their fruits, their tomatoes, pick up a dozen donuts, they get in their car and they leave. Festivals, they park and they stay. I am a donut maker and I'm a coffee drinker. I have never, ever had to wait for a bathroom, and I certainly wouldn't use a porta potty. So, and I'm working. I jump out of that truck 4 or 5 times, go to the bathroom. There's no one in that bathroom. So whatever they're talking about needing to supply extra bathrooms for a farmer's market is not true. I've never had someone complain about finding a parking space to buy my products. And we have lines. I mean, I don't know if you've had my donuts, but they're pretty good. And we have lines, and they come, they park, they come from Holden Beach, they come from Charlotte, they come from Calabash. They follow us like, where's Waldo? Where are they? They get our donuts and they leave. So it's not, yesterday I made a quarter of the money that I make in a farmer's market because the people come and go. They're just turning at a farmer's market. So I'm not seeing, I understand it's chaotic and we do need to figure out the parking thing, but I don't see an issue like I'm hearing through the grapevine, and I'm not sure where it's coming from. But I welcome you all to come to the farmer's market yourselves. You know, just look at the goods, look at the system of the parking, the safety for your, you know, the visitors, the tourists, but it's also for the residents. I mean, I'm upset that I can't get my sourdough bread because the breadsmith sold his business, and now I have to go to Heritage to buy that's all I want at a farmer's market is the fresh bread and the fruits and vegetables. That's it. So, but I do want you to understand the parking is very different because it is just like, they don't hang out at a farmer's market. So excuse me, I'm so tired. I don't know how you guys do this for 3 hours, but it's different. So I just welcome you to just come look at it before anybody makes any harsh, rash decisions. That's all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, your donuts are very good.
Thank you so
Anyone
much.
else?
Make sure we're finished.
Okay. Is anyone else?
One more over here.
We got a man here too.
Hi, I'm Diana Kist and 3133 Crescent Lake Drive in Carolina Shores. I did send you all an email the other night, I don't know if you got it. I just wanted to reiterate that the markets are very important to us as business owners. I mean, you call us vendors, and yes, we are vendors, but we own our businesses. We go all over. I mean, Tracy goes all over the state, all over the country. Many of us go to different towns, and we bring those people to the town. I mean, they come to Sunset Beach to see us. It's a destination. So when you're planning for these event changes, I hope you keep in mind that we're drawing people here. We want people to come see the community as it is and really enjoy what everybody has to offer. So I won't be long. Thank you. I just wanted to get
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Douglas Hargett, 421 37th Street. I'm down here at the beach by myself, and I can't go on the beach. It doesn't make me feel good. I think if you put yourself in my position, you wouldn't feel good either. The ordinance banning the golf carts is wrong. I've asked for reasons. The reasons seem to change about once a month. The latest reason was read here tonight, which said that my golf cart might get stuck in the sand. I've had the same golf cart for 11 years. It's never, ever once, never gotten stuck. But it'll get stuck in one specific spot and won't be able to move. And at that exact same time, there will be an emergency. And those emergency vehicles will come at that exact spot at that exact time and won't be able to get around my golf cart. It sounds like that's the reason that the town is now saying I can't use my golf cart. My parents fought for this golf cart years and years ago. They stood right here. And the town said, we'll let you use a golf cart. It's the only way I can get on and off the beach by myself. If anyone would like to come, I can show you, use any of the accommodations that the town is suggesting. They do not work if you are by yourself. My life is hard. This ordinance makes my life harder. I wish you would change it. It can be done easily. It costs nothing for you to do this. You basically just go back to the way it was. Other reasons are that I read in the newspaper, there was an article, and one reason was that there's an increased demand. There's a better chance of seeing a unicorn on the beach than seeing two golf carts on the beach at the same time. It just doesn't happen. There is not a proliferation of golf carts on the beach. There are a lot more golf carts on the island. That's a separate issue. My golf cart is specially made, and it has everything that was done per the police department's suggestion. I spent tons of money and time, and then they just said, for no reason, we're not gonna let you use it anymore. It's wrong. It's discrimination, and I hope that you will reconsider it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Anyone else? No further public comments? All right, if not, do I have a motion to adjourn, or does any council member have anything else?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.